Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Probably Fixed It. On this episode here, this is an old Cub Cadet I took in on trade, and honestly I've done that stay build test a handful of times, and I put it in this mower and it made it run okay-ish. But we let it sit up over a week. We used it after we put that in there and it kind of worked. Let it sit up a week and it's back to doing its old things, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the main thing we're going to do on this video is we're going to take this SC300 Cub Cadet. It's a little 159cc. It's a Honda clone engine that's on these things, from the best I can tell. And I'm gonna show you what it's doing right now. But we're just gonna do a rebuild on this carburetor, and that's kind of what's gonna be the focus of this video, is how to rebuild one of these Honda or Honda clone carburetors. And hopefully that carburetor is salvageable, and if not, we'll go back to our old trusty aftermarket carb. But anyway, let me fire this thing up so you can kind of hear what it's doing, and then after we do this carburetor rebuild, it should sound totally different. All right, so you have an idea of what it's doing now. So we're going to try to get that cleared up and get that carburetor rebuilt and get this one back out there. We liked how this mower cut. It cuts really well. So we may end up keeping this one around the house for a little bit. Let's dig into this thing here, this mower. I got it up on my stand so I don't have to hunch over so much, which I'm going to show you a little thing I made for this. Or actually, I had my stepdad make it because he's kind of the wood guy, but my idea that I stole from somebody else off YouTube. But I'll show you that, so that way if y'all want to make it, y'all can have that for this one of these little stands you get at Harbor Freight. So it looks like there's 3 bolts holding this on. They actually look a little bigger than normal, but they are bigger than normal. Well, that top one is 7/16. The bottom 2 are something metric, because my little set is all standard. So anyway, I'll find something for those. Nope. Take that all back. They're all the same size. Let me go figure out what size they are. Tell you what, well, how much you want to bet it's that 7 or 8 that's not on my set? Maybe we'll get lucky. 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter. All right, good job. That's kind of interesting. That top bolt is not currently doing anything. That top bolt on here is just holding that. See that little choke assembly on there? And look how dirty that carb is. It's pretty dirty. Got my vice grips I use as a clamp to clamp off the fuel line. Might need to tighten it up a little bit. And then you got a hose clamp right there you can take off. And then look, that carburetor's gonna come right off for the most part. Save all those gaskets because I don't have any on hand. I took my vice grip off just because it was in the way, so I can get to that clamp real quick. Put my vice grip back on, put it behind it so I can slide that thing back on there later on. Now I got to pay attention to how the linkages are hooked up on this particular. A lot of these are slightly different, you know. I mean, depending on which model of mower you have. But we're gonna take that hose off, get it out of the way. This hose is kind of busted. So yeah, you can see where that hose is already torn. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this hose. I already know that. It's kind of tore. Not 100% certain how these plastics come off of this thing. But anyway, we're gonna take off these linkages here. Now this linkage here, try to do it where you can see without my hands being totally in the way. You got a little spring, and that spring's on this front little, see that right there? That spring goes right there, so it just comes right off. Just go ahead and let that loose. And then now you can take this and spin it all the way. And once you get that all the way, you can lift this straight up. And sometimes the sequence in which you do these make your life a little easier. I'm just using these pliers because my hands get in the way, and I'm just trying to, and they're probably already still in the way, but I just basically, I rotated that and then just was able to lift that straight up. So I got that out of the way. Now I should be able to pull this carburetor out a little bit more and then rotate it, and it'll pop out of that hole right there. Let's see if I can get it out. Sometimes these rods make it kind of a little bit more challenging. Yeah, like this one here is a little bit. Usually if you can get past these rods, you can twist that carburetor a little easier, but I'm not having that luck right now. So I may have to end up taking these plastics off of here so I can remove it from the backside. So let me take a look at that and see. But typically, you can just pull this thing out and then clock it, and it'll come right off that shaft. But every mower is slightly unique, but most of the time they're generally the same, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So the way this plastics come off, this just slides like that, and it's got a groove right there. And it's also, which I just popped out, but it's got a screw down here on the bottom that you'll have to remove. You have to pull that sticker up a little bit to get to. Mine just came right out of the hole when I just did it. So, oh well, we'll deal with that later. And then it's your typical setup here for getting this cover off. I'm gonna go ahead and get this removed here so I can have better access for you guys. Just remove those 3 fasteners. These actually came unscrewed from a little bit deeper down in there, and then that just comes right off. And I'm gonna just set this up out of the way. That's my fuel tank and all that. And now you have a much better view of what's going on. Let me see if I can get you down in there. Yeah, it's a lot better. So this is another one of those that has that choke vein in it. And I found that if you just take that vein off right here, it makes your life so much easier. I hope you saw that. And then you can just twist that out. Now I'm gonna put this thing back in there so I don't lose it. And then now your carburetor just comes right off. That's it, that's all there is to it. We're gonna go ahead and tear into this carburetor. I'll bring it over to the table and bring y'all with me so we can tear into this carburetor and see how she looks. The main purpose of this video is the rebuilding of this carburetor or replacement of this carburetor, depending on if it comes back to life. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this thing up over this thing to catch any liquids that are in it. Now, like I said, this was a aftermarket, well, I say aftermarket, it's actually a Cub Cadet motor, but those Cub Cadet motors run Honda clone engines, and those Honda clone engines have, that's the carburetor has on it. So they're basically the same thing you get when you buy something off Amazon. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and try to rebuild this. What happens with a lot of these, and the reason you can't salvage them, is that metal in there gets all corroded, and it's not a matter of cleaning it, it's just the metal's no longer in there. So we're gonna go ahead and open this up and take a look inside. Oh, that came off pretty easy. All right, so all my fuel's out. I'm gonna go ahead and put everything on my little blue bin. All right, so let's go ahead and tear into this. Got a gasket down here. There's my float bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this one the old-fashioned way using carb cleaner and brake parts cleaner, you know, whatever I get that's cheapest. I have ultrasonic cleaner. You can't see it, it's just off film there, off frame, but I do have it, but not everybody has them, so I'm gonna do this the way that you could probably do it on the weekend if you had to. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pull that pin out right here. That pin holds your float in. Got our pin out, don't lose anything. If you have a little cubby or something, that's a good idea to put it in. And then this right here is your float, and that has your needle on it. And you can look, before I even take this needle off, if you see right there, see that little brown residue on there? That's just smuts that doesn't need to be there, and that's probably part of the problem. And then also, I'll end up pulling that off as well. And then inside the float bowl, it's got some just garbage, a little bit of garbage in there, and we'll clean that all up. This particular float has a little, the needle has a spring on it, so you can just kind of, it really is kind of helpful, believe it or not. It helps keep it in place. Put a little spring so it doesn't fall right off. Like a lot of them will just fall right off. Anyway, go ahead and pull that off. don't lose that spring. See, that spring's wanting to eject itself from the chat. We don't need that to be gone. Go ahead and put that down there. Inside here is going to be your main jet, and it's going to take you need to take a screwdriver and stick that screwdriver right in here, and it's going to be your main jet. And on that last video I put out, I rebuilt a plastic one about the middle. If you watch the whole video all the way through, and about the middle of it, I got in there and really started working on a plastic carburetor. I went ahead and rebuilt it and showed you pretty much step on step. And all those plastic ones are pretty much the same. And honestly, about 80% of these carburetors are the same. There's a few that are slightly different, but I don't know if you can see down in there or not, but there is a jet in there, and that jet has a flathead blade on it, and I'm trying to get it loose. Sometimes they can be a little pain in the butt. Like this one is being kind of tough. What I may do, I may shoot some, and sometimes I can't get those out, and I'll clean them with the carb cleaner down that way. The problem is your emulsion tube is also up here a little bit higher, and you want to really clean that out the best you can as well. And I have these welding tip cleaners I can get in there and clean stuff with as well. So I'm still going to try to get that out. Sometimes you got to just spray in there, and hopefully you can get some of that, whatever's causing it to be locked up, out. And I've also found that whatever the biggest blade you can fit in there also helps get you some more purchase on there. So I'm gonna see if I can have a slightly broader tip, flat tip. Kind of went through my stash, and that's too big, that's too big. So I'm back to using the one I was back at, but I just kind of got in there, find that slot, and I'm just give myself a little extra so I can push down on it real hard. I don't know if you can't see the top of my hand, but I'm pushing down pretty hard and hoping I can get that thing to turn. It looks like I got it this time. Yeah, it's loose. So now you gotta get that jet out of there. And sometimes when you think you're done unscrewing it, you're not. You gotta keep going. There we go, we're getting there now. See it starting to come out? That's your jet right there. Go ahead and get that out and set it to the side. Then inside here, there's what they call your emulsions tube, and we're gonna try to get it out by doing a little, sometimes you can get it by just banging it. Pay attention to how it comes out. I'll show you how it comes out, but you pay attention so you don't have to, that way you're not all confused whenever you do it. Now sometimes you gotta come in here from the inside to get it out. Not usually they fall right out. There, do you see that? I just banged it on the table a handful of times and that came right out. And remember how this goes in. This right here is the bottom. This one is what goes up into the carburetor. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not. But there's a whole bunch of little holes. Well, this one has, looks like 3 or 4. It looks, no, this one has, I don't know, looks like 6 holes, so 6 through holes. So, and that's where your fuel goes into turns into like a mist inside the carburetor. So you got to make sure you get that real clean as well. So we got that out. So that's all the parts we're going to take off this carburetor. Sometimes there's another screw on these carburetors where they have another jet, and this one doesn't seem to have it. So what I'll end up doing, and that right there is where your fuel goes in and then goes through here, and so let's start cleaning this thing up. I've seen people take a tube, like a fuel line, and stick it over this thing. I've never done it this way, to be honest with you. I get a bigger tube. Now, I've always just thrown these in my cleaner, but I've seen people go in here and I usually just spray down these holes with this little red carburetor cleaner. Now, what I've seen some people do, which I think is probably a pretty good idea, they'll put a little bitty fuel hose on there, just on the end of that, and then they'll stick their carbon cleaner in there, and then you should see it shoot out these holes. See how it shot out those holes? Woohoo! All right. That's pretty clean. That was a good little trick. I like that. I might get to use it. I'm probably gonna use that in the future. We're gonna clean up this needle, get all that gummy stuff off of there. And put that back together so we don't lose it. Remember how that went? That little spring is gonna kind of help keep that tension on there. So I'll get a close-up of that whenever I get it on there. I'll try to do it so y'all can see it. See how that's on there? Okay. So that's good there. Now we got our jet we got to contend with. We're going to go take our jet and we're going to go ahead and stick our little carb cleaner right at that little, right inside there, right inside that little hole, and we're going to shoot it out of there. I'm going to shoot that. So you got fingers out of the way. Well, your fingers are in the way. Anyway, you're going to see it. That's where your fuel is going to go out. So that's nice and clean. And if you don't have a set of these, you don't need to use them. I have them, so you know what? I'm not going to use them just so we can see if it works. But, well, you know what, I'm going to show you anyway, so you get the idea. You just take that and you're going to stick it up through the jet, through that little hole, and you're just going to go back and forth and clean it out. And then you do the same thing on that, on this emulsion tube. You can stick that in there as well. And then if you have one that's small enough, you can go all the way across these. Let me see if I got one that's small enough. See how those go through? And you just hit every single one of them with the that little cleaning tip. I'm gonna go ahead and do it since I'm doing it. But this one here has a lot more holes in it. It's got them going in multiple directions, and they're smaller. So you get better atomization for, I guess, your environmental controls, but they also have a tendency to clog up a little easier on you. So running that non-ethanol fuel is really the way to go, because that ethanol fuel will gum up stuff in a hurry. In a season, it'll gum up your stuff. All right, so now that we got all the little individual parts clean, we're going to go clean up the actual carburetor itself. So you have this right here, and it's going to shoot out that hole right there. It's going to shoot right at you. See that? And then I'll come the other way with it as well. So it's going to, this is going to come right out. I shoot in here, it's going to come out right there, and that's where your needle and seat are. And then I shoot up every orifice I can get this thing in. I want every passage in this carburetor as clean as I can possibly get. Every nook and cranny, every hole. If it's got a hole, I'm sticking this thing in it. And I think we're pretty good to start putting this back together. All right, back together is not that difficult. This is your emulsion tube, remember? See how it's got those two rings down there? Those are going to go towards the bottom. So basically, that little pointy part is going to go towards the top. So that's going to go just like that and sit. All it does is sit in place. You don't have to do nothing else to it. Now you got your, I just put it on here so you can see it without my fingers being in it. Now you have your main jet. So if you look at that main jet, see how it's got the groove for your screwdriver? Well, then that's how you know that's how you need that, or you could access your screwdriver and tighten that up. So that part goes in here just like that, and it's going to drop in place and go all the way down. And you just tighten that in there, and you want to get it kind of snug because it's holding your emulsion tube in there as well. You don't have to go nuts with it. And there's probably a legitimate torque spec, but I don't know what it is. There, I just went until I felt my wrist pop a little bit. All right, now the next thing we're going to do, is we're going to put this float back in. And this is a little bit different than the plastic ones, and just go watch that video if you have a plastic one. It's, I don't remember what it's titled. Just go watch all my videos, and then you'll know. We'll go ahead and put that on there. And basically all you're doing is you have holes that go all the way through here, and you're just lining it up with the hole in your float that's right there. And you also have to drop your needle into your seat right there. It's not that hard. You can do it. Now doing it, I'm trying to do it from the other side so you can kind of see what I'm doing. See how that just went through there? Hopefully I had a good camera view for you. So there we go. We got that in there. And then now this float should do its thing. Now I do this test. Your float should do its thing. I do this test. Now it's not official by no stretch of the imagination. People have like pressure gauges and vacuum gauges. I don't have none of that stuff. And more than likely, you don't either unless you're like a legit shop. I'm just a guy in a garage that likes working on lawnmowers. So when I blow in here, that represents the fuel going in, because that's your fuel inlet. And when I push this out, it represents your fuel comes up and it pushes that float up, and that cuts off the supply of fuel. So, and it seems to be working pretty good. Now we need to put our gasket back on. So it's going to go on there like so. I may actually put it on, well, let's see. And here it goes, it's just gonna sit right on there, but it's kind of a little bit warped, so I'm gonna put it on, I'm gonna see if I can put it on the float bowl. But you do what's best, right? Honestly, I usually just drop it back in that groove. Yeah, I'm gonna do it the way I always do it. Because I'm afraid when I put that bowl up there, it's just gonna drop off, and it will. And if you need to, you can probably put a little, I don't know, something a little, oh, there you go. See how I got it on there nice and easy? It's on there good now. So now you just take your float bowl, put it on there. This is going to be your drain, so you can drain your fuel in between seasons if you want. And let me show you something. This right here that holds your float bowl on, it just screws into the same spot where your jet is. So you have some threads up here on the top. Don't let those confuse you when you go to put your jet back in. We'll put that on, and then go ahead and get that installed. And it is a 10mm bolt. And that should be pretty good right there. So for all practical purposes, this carburetor is rebuilt. So we're gonna go ahead and reinstall it. I need to put another fuel line on because that other fuel line tore when I took it off. Just you know, it doesn't agree with that it doesn't agree with the ethanol in the fuel. And you know, like I said, that was the Cub Cadet comes with the Honda knockoff motor. So, you know, it's not the same quality as the motor you get by Honda built in Japan. So let's move back over to the mower and get this installed. So I went ahead and put a fuel line on off camera. I believe everybody can probably put a fuel line on. All right, so you're gonna want to put this one on first, and then it's kind of you kind of gotta force it a little bit. At least I did. If you have a better way, let me know. And then you can put these on without being all bound up. So then I'm gonna get my little pliers here so you can see what I'm doing. The pliers are gonna go. You can't really see it, but there's a little hole in the front. That's where that spring goes. And then this back one here. Once you get, I showed it pretty good how it came apart, but it just drops right back in there. Hopefully you saw that. Let me see if I can kind of come over here and show you again where everything is. All right, this is kind of how everything is. All right, let me show you one more time. Once you get that like that, you can pull this comes right up. See how that just comes right out of that groove? I don't know if you saw that. And then it drops right in that groove, and then you can bring it back. But you got to hold it open while you do it, and then that's really all there is to it right there. Getting your linkages back in there. Here, take a quick look how they're set up. And that is not right there. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with my choke mechanism here. I'll figure that out. Let me go figure that out. One thing I noticed on this carburetor, this was on that other side of that, and that doesn't allow your butterfly to move the right enough. So I had to pull this up a little bit. I don't know when that happened, but I pulled that up and over on the other side. So now I got full function of that butterfly. So let me hook up this and show you how that goes in place. Just drop that in there. We're gonna try it this way first. That's all there is to it, to that linkage. Now the trick is getting this piece back on up here. If someone knows a better way, let me know, because that's not gonna work like that. Yeah, it's gotta go on. This, I believe, has to go on here first. There you go. Man, you just kind of got to make it go on there. It's kind of tough, actually. But I got it on there, and everything looks like it's functioning okay. If someone knows the easier way to do that, I would love to know. I feel like I fought this last time on another Honda motor. Put the gasket back on there. Put our fuel tank back on so we can put our hose back on. Gonna go ahead and put those two fasteners back in real quick. Hold everything in place. Never a good idea to do what I just did by starting these like that. All right. Now I'll put this fuel tank back on. Like I said, the main thing I wanted to show y'all with this, in this particular video, is getting the, rebuilding that carburetor. Just kind of showing you how to do that. I'll put this back on place. I just put my fuel line on. Disconnect that for right now. Get that out of the way. Now we're gonna go ahead and put these three fasteners back in place. One of them, the acorn nut, actually came off like it was supposed to. The rest of them came off all the way down and on the block. All right, got that one started. Got that one started. So I do have the air filter and the cover that needs to go back on. I'm gonna go blow this air filter out with compressed air, and I need to put this back on. But I'm gonna take it down here and fire her up real quick. See if she works. All right, we're gonna give this mower a quick test pull and see how if she fires up and how she runs. So that was the first pull after we reassembled everything. That sounded pretty good. All right, I'm gonna put the plastics back on real quick. I went ahead and blew that filter out and put that plastic back on the top. Now she should be good to go. Hey guys, thanks for joining me again for another episode of Probably Fixed It. We got this sucker back and running, up and running. All I really did do it was did a carburetor rebuild. Didn't use an aftermarket thing. Didn't use my ultrasonic cleaner, which I have. I just did it the way you could probably do it in your garage. Now this carburetor on this is the Cub Cadet, and it actually cuts very, very nice. We like how it cuts. I'm a little sad that it's not a legit Honda motor. It's got some knockoff motor with a knockoff Chinese carb, just like you'd get probably off Amazon. And it was able to be saved with the good old-fashioned carburetor cleaner with no extra special tools, just some regular hand tools and some carb and brake cleaner from your local Walmart or Parts House or wherever you want to get that stuff from. So guys, these can be saved, and you can tear it. Don't be afraid to tear into that carburetor, and if you screw it up, there's a video on YouTube somewhere that'll show you how to put it back together. If you don't know how to get those linkages and stuff back on, just do a little online investigation, you'll find it. And also, don't be afraid to buy those carburetors from Amazon. They get a bad rap, but that's what's on this one from the factory. It's got an old, I've actually purchased that brand, I think, in the past. And it's not, honestly, it's not one that I choose. I choose Hypa anytime I choose an aftermarket carburetor, if it's available for what I'm working on and I can't salvage the OEM one. A lot of times, the OEM ones, when people let them sit, they get water in there and it corrodes the metal, so they're not savable. But a lot of times they are savable, so you just kind of got to break into them and look at them and see what you can do. Some people are die-hard OEM fans, and I get it, but if you can put a carburetor on yourself in 15 minutes for 15 bucks, it sure beats taking it to the shop and paying. I know our local shop, and it's a nice small shop, is $110 an hour to work on mowers, and it's a small independent shop. We have a Skag dealership down here, and I think they're closer to 200 bucks, if not more, per hour to work on a mower. It's ridiculous. So get on YouTube, find out how to work on these, and as I get them in, I work on them, and I get all kinds of different mowers in. I get a lot of the same. A lot of them are the same. So if you see the similarities, sometimes you can copy and paste, but I try to, if I'm even doing the same work, I try to let you know what mower I'm working on, just in case you do a search for your particular mower and you can see that, oh, okay, that's my mower. So you have more confidence that it's going to be the same. But generally speaking, a lot of this stuff, these small engines, a lot of Briggs & Stratton motors are the same. If they're the same series on a different mower, they're generally the same. Plastic carburetors are the same. These Honda knockoffs are almost the same as the regular Honda motors. As far as longevity on the Honda knockoffs, I don't know, but as far as doing the work, it's about the same. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. And also, I've been told that dogs like me. So if y'all don't like me, maybe leave me on for entertainment for your animals when you leave the house. All right, guys, till next time. Thank you.